Alright, hey ya folks, welcome to A Racer's Perspective weeknight stream. Weeknights, 10 p.m. approximately to 11 p.m. if we can find enough racing action anyway. I'm your host, Sredni, and tonight I didn't have much of a plan. I was kind of hoping to do some public matches and was warming up a little bit earlier, and it's pretty barren. I was able to find matches, but lots of waits in between, and that sounds kind of boring. So I'm gonna go ahead and go over how I race the three tracks that we have available right now: Old Vanderval, Rikkord Memorial, and Defford Link. I'm going to fly them using a keyboard and mouse setup. That's how I always fly. I use a Corsair K95 keyboard. That's a mechanical keyboard. And I use a Logitech G900 mouse. One of the things I like about the G900 versus sort of a standard desktop mouse is it gives you a lot of options for changing your sensitivity. So not only is it a very accurate mouse, but it also lets you change sensitivity on the fly, which is really fantastic, especially for a game like Star Citizen, where you might find yourself in a sort of a taking it easy first-person mode, a combat first-person mode, a flight mode, etc. So anyway, that's what I'm flying with. Now, a quick sort of disclaimer here. I'm showing how I fly these particular tracks. I'm not necessarily showing you the best way to fly these particular tracks. I'm not the best. In fact, I'm pretty far from it, and I'm struggling to stay in the top 25 right now on all of the tracks, especially Defford, because as you'll hear me say repeatedly, I'm garbage at fuel management. But it will show you how to hit the tracks at a pretty good clip. It will show you some of the shortcuts. My line is pretty similar to the line that you would see one of the top 10 racers use. The main difference you'll see in how I fly is with the yaw style turning. Most top racers, in fact, I think all top 10 racers probably use the pitch style because it's superior. It gives you better control of your G-forces and allows you to make turns at faster speeds. I have to slow down essentially more than most people at a ring in order to get through it without passing out. And just in general, I'm probably at a little higher risk of passing out in a turn if I don't pay attention to my speed really well. In other words, you can get away with being a little bit more, fly by feel with the pitch style, because if you start to black out, you can roll your ship and continue turning the same direction but in an inverted orientation. So instead of sort of flying, let's say you're flying up and you're blacking out, then you're technically flying down now, and those G-forces get kind of pushed into the red pool, and if you start to red out, you can flip your ship again and reorient those G-forces to the black. So Star Citizen isn't a complete realistic simulation, but if you can imagine blacking out being the blood draining from your brain and redding out being the blood flooding to your brain, you're basically controlling how the blood is either flooding in or flooding out in order to not pass out, maintain higher Gs. So with that said, I will go ahead and start on OV and show you guys how I do it. I'm going to start with a slow lap to demonstrate my line, and then start going a little faster. So right now I'm just going to show the line so I do it accurately. Here I slow down really tight, and it's hard for me to remember the timing this slow, but I try to hug that turn as tight as I can. Orient a little bit there, so I stay on yaw. So if you're a racer that turns on pitch, don't stop. Don't try to learn this method instead. The pitch method is better. If you're trying to learn lines, this is not a bad way to learn it. If you're just starting out racing and you don't have a style yet, it won't kill you to use yaw. Obviously I do okay with it. I don't usually thread that needle right there, but I try to. Alright, and then I'm coming through. So I'm going to speed up, I'm going to do one fast lap, and then I'm going to slow down again and talk about it. It won't be quite full speed, but you'll get the idea. Okay, so that's about how I fly. I want to talk about, I'm going to go and restart my lap. I want to talk about what I'm actually doing. I actually did OV once before, talking about how I fly it, and what I realized is that I can possibly comment on how I fly it while I fly in a fast lap. I just can't talk that fast. So let me talk about it at a slower speed. So I'm gonna go out of the tunnel almost as fast as I can. I'm a bit of a coward, so when I'm coming out of the gate the first lap, I don't exceed much more than 550, 600 meters per second there, and then I reorient my ship here as quickly as I can. Now turning more quickly is actually advantageous. That might seem counterintuitive, but when the enemy is G-forces, and when you have the ability to use boost constantly in the M50, you got plenty of maneuverability. You don't need to worry about that. You just need to worry about the G's. So a quick turn is better than a slow one because G-forces accumulate over time, so it's better to carry heavy G's for a short period of time than, say, moderate G's for a long period. Even light G's over a very long period of time can cause you to black, red, or even white out. You can see why I need to fly slow in order to comment, because I couldn't get past the first ring. So this time I'm just going to stop if I get ahead of myself. Okay, so future laps I'd be coming out at full throttle, that's 780 in the M50 here. And then I adjust just a little bit down to make this turn. And then I want to be going, though, about 600 to 650 meters per second. And I brake, I'll go back a little bit, about here when I see the little camera there on my right. And just after I've passed the spire, I'm going to brake hard. In fact, I've even set up a shortcut on my mouse. I've got a full throttle shortcut and a full stop shortcut. That helps me make some of these really fast rings. There's only a couple of them on all the tracks, but this is one where right here I just put throttle to minimum, basically throttle to 0, and then it takes my ship until about through the ring to slow down to 200 meters per second from 650, 700 meters per second. And that allows me to reorient really fast on yaw without passing out. And I try to get up to 450 meters per second through this ring. Orient quickly up through here. Roll my ship. And I try to get up to 600 meters per second approaching this ring as well. And then speed down just a little bit as I hit the ring to about 550 or so. It's a small reorientation so I don't white out, just dipping down here and then I use my throttle maximum button to throttle up as quickly as possible and not lose time just trying to accelerate. Right here, oops, let go of boost. Right as I start to hit this this little spire disc thingy, that's when I slow down. Full stop isn't good here. I just decelerate as quickly as I can so that I can reorient straight up towards that ring, and then I roll, and then and I explode. Let me back up a second here without blowing up. Okay. So I roll a bit to kind of thread that needle, and then I'm going to jerk up with the mouse. Obviously you don't need that much when I'm going that slow, but it's a really fast. That's one of the few times I use pitch. Fast motion with the mouse. I'm gonna go back again. Let me just demonstrate that whole thing over. Somehow I got out of Afterburner. Oh, because it'll respawn, that's why. Okay, anyway. So through here, I'm going about 200 meters per second to 300. That's a really safe speed for a 90-degree turn. So I can reorient as quickly as possible. And I try to get up to about 500 there, and flip the mouse, and then I roll and try to stay oriented up so I can dip down. That's another pitch one I use, and I start to red out at that point, and I actually make sure that I'm pulling up slowly through this entire arc, and I'm going full speed. As soon as I hit that ring, I go full speed. So let me kind of do a warm-up lap. We'll do one more hot lap, and then we'll move on to the next track. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in chat. I'd be only too happy to make this a little bit more social and talk to you about them. Okay, here we go. I'm going to try to go into this lap hot. So I'm at full speed. Slow down just a little here. Full stop. That wasn't very good, but we made it. Alright, dip down. And not a good demonstration. I'm sorry. Full speed. Try to recover. Start decelerating hard so I can flip up. That was a little bit slow, even for me. Reorient my ship. Go down heavy. Adjust out those red forces. So as you can see, I'm still using sort of a hybrid flying style. I do use some pitch on turns. Oh, I broke too early there. So if I go too fast through that turn, I'll notice because my screen starts to white out a little bit. That's the white out look that I was just showing you there. That tells me that I just have to be careful how I accelerate. So when I make mistakes, as I inevitably do, as I race around the track, the main adjustment I'm making is actually to go a little slower out of turns, just to make sure that I don't pass out. If I go a little too fast in, I'm usually okay, as long as I don't continue to go breakneck after that. I take it a little easy, especially on this one up here. So if I take this one too quick, like this, I started white out, I'm just gonna pause for a second before I accelerate. Now I forgot something pretty basic before I started just talking about how I race this at all. This probably should have been part of the keyboard and mouse talk. I race coupled I have G-Safe off pretty much all the time because my boost and afterburner are on all the time. And I have the option of turn G-Safe off when using boost and afterburner selected in the game options. On this track I have boost all the time, so I toggle afterburner right at the beginning as I spawn. If I respawn, I toggle it again. So afterburner is always on, and in the case of Old Vanderval, where I'm not going to run out of fuel, by spamming the boost key, I do have boost pressed down at all times. So that's probably the last little piece. Okay, on to Rikkord. And Rikkord will be pretty similar. It's just going to be a different race line and a few changes perhaps in different ring strategies. Okay, here I am on Rikkord. I'll start with a slow lap. So I immediately turn on afterburner as soon as I start out. Typically I want to get up to about 600 meters per second here. Turn, sort of a slight gradual turn. And I like to thread this needle right here. One of the nice things about the mouse, I'll stop. One of the nice things about the mouse and keyboard is you can have really nice maneuvering control of your ship. You kind of point it where you want to go. That might sound like it's not very immersive. Well, it certainly isn't as immersive as dual sticks. But I gotta say, once you get used to a control scheme, like I've gotten really comfortable with mouse and keyboard, you just kind of become your ship anyway. So while I have no doubts that I would just get that extra wonderful thrill from using dual sticks, I also don't experience this break of immersion either from using mouse and keyboard. I'm not thinking about the mouse and keyboard when I race. I'm in my ship and I'm flying my ship, and I'm one with my ship, as it were. So it doesn't really interfere too much. Anyway, I'm slowing down to that sort of golden 250, 300 meters per second here to basically do a 90 degrees here. So a lot of people go around the spire the other way. That's certainly what these little arrows kind of suggest you should do. But the right way around the track, as we all know, is the shortest distance within bounds. And since these tracks only use rings for inbounds, the shortest distance is not to go all the way around here. It's to reorient your ship almost 90 degrees past this ring, and you just kind of gun it down here. I usually get up to about 600 meters per second. And then I would slow down, not this much, just about 300-400 meters per second here, and then reorient up here, gun it again. And I usually try to do a slow turn, doesn't accumulate too many G's, and then I slow down heavy here and pass through the ring and do, again, a pretty sharp turn, aiming for this spire between this and the billboard. I go down and back up. It's a quick little dip when you're going fast. And for here, I'm going back to that 300 meters per second, quick turn, and I get up to about 500, approaching this ring, quick 90-degree turn, back up to about 500 to approach this ring. That's just the speed that I feel comfortable accelerating to in order to decelerate in time for the next turn. That's one of the ways that even continuing to use yaw that I could improve my lap times is by pushing up that acceleration just a little bit more, getting up to like 550, 600 meters per second ahead of that last ring, and still getting down to turn safely. That would be how I would increase my times. Down here I usually get up between 650 and the full 780 speed, slowing down to about 450 through that ring. It's not a super tight turn, so I don't have to slow down as much. And this is another ring where I basically slow down to 250 so I can safely just do that quick turn. Usually get up to about 550 hitting this ring, slow down to about 350 here, gun it up here, about 550, 600 there, gun it down to about 250 there because it's a pretty tight turn. And I try to keep my ship oriented up and then dip down, use those red G's to pull it back out, and that's because too there's a big long pitch up in that last couple set of rings, and if I don't start out with some red G forces, I'm going to have too much black, and I'm going to black out right here in this tunnel. So let me do a little kind of like easy peasy warm-up lap, and then I'll go into the next lap hot and kind of show you everything at full speed. Just kind of taking it easy this lap. You can see I'm going below all the speeds I mentioned first run through. Just kind of warming up, practicing my line, practicing those turns. Went down, accumulate some red, shoot up, and I kind of do a two-stager like that. That keeps me. Alright, so here we go. Full speed-ish. Full speed-ish. No matter how fast I'm trying to go, I do try to observe the rule of don't crash, don't pass out. So if you see me going slower than the times I mentioned, it's because I'm not doing super great and I'm just making sure that I don't pass out. Alright, here I dip down for the red and I compensate that out. And you can see I got about a 1:04 lap time doing that, which is actually one of my better times. I don't think I've beaten 1:02. So you can see that you know, sometimes going a little bit slower, just trying to take it easy and focusing on not making big mistakes is actually a faster way to go. If I had really tried to gun it, I probably would have either passed out, crashed, or at the very least made a couple mistakes and had to make a correction, and ended up with something more like 106, 107. So it really doesn't pay to get too crazy. Alright. Let me show Defford off. I want to remind anyone watching that this stream is always archived to Twitch, so you can rewatch it there if there's anything you missed or you want to rewatch. And I also archive to YouTube as well, where it will be permanent. So you can always check out a stream, rewind, fast forward to your heart's content. If there's like say maybe one of these tracks that you want to kind of review. All right. So actually, let me start over. So full disclosure, Defford's the track I'm definitely the worst stat, have the most room for improvement. It's because of fuel management. So with Defford, instead of spamming the boost key the entire time, I only use boost when I really need it. That means I'm definitely not holding down boost on a straightaway unless I'm trying to accelerate, because boost helps you accelerate and decelerate faster. I'm really just using it around the rings. So I've got afterburner on now. Show my slow lap time. So approaching this ring, I don't want to go more than 450 because I need to be able to turn sharp and readjust just using boost right before the ring as I slow down and right after the ring as I speed up. So that sentence was about the time that I'm boosting. I'm not boosting here until right now, and then I make a quick turn, reorient, go up to about 300, weave through these buildings here, jerk this way, reorient up there to about 450. You can see why my times are so much slower. In order to not run out of fuel on the track, I have to really hold back on my speed. So again, this lap is mostly, besides my commentary, it's mostly about getting to see the line that I do, because going this slow, if there's one thing I can do pristinely, it's follow my line. Slow down to about 300 there, make a sharp turn, hug those buildings as tightly as I can manage, quick turn through there, up to about 400 through here, well, actually 500 if I can manage it. Turn sharp right there and go right through here to hit as straight a line as possible towards the next ring. It's just heavily starting right there. Really sharp turn. Going through here as tightly as possible. And then decelerating as quickly as possible right here. Whipping around and trying to catch it. You can see that ring. And then I just adjust slightly down, going to about 450 there also. Up to closer to 550 going towards this ring, even 600, decelerating to about 350. It's not as tight of a turn because I take it in a couple stages, about 450 through this one. And this is the fun part where I find out how much fuel I have left, and usually it's not very much and I start to freak out. Make that as tight as possible. And basically all these rings at the end are like quick 90 degree, like just totally readjust, go to the next ring. And I'm generally hitting all of these at about 450 meters per second. Go through here when I can. So I'm not sure how, because I haven't taught myself how to race just on pitch effectively yet on these tracks, but I'm pretty certain that pitch gives you an advantage for boost fuel too, because whenever I'm racing with guys faster than me who use pitch, they always seem to have more left over, more wiggle room than I do. They're not running out like I am half the time. Okay, I'm gonna try for so-called hot lap. So off the boost, pay attention to boost on the screen. I'm gonna try to focus on racing here, but you'll see it go on and off. And you will notice deviations from the speeds I was talking about, the line I was doing, and again, that's just because when I'm going full speed, I'm making little errors pretty much all the time, and I have to make little adjustments to the plan because of it. And usually that means going a little bit slower than planned, or changing my line a little bit. going pretty slow this lap, which is fine. I might try to do another fast lap after this, after hopefully I'm a little bit more warmed up for this track. It's always a bit of an adjustment for me going from the other tracks, because I am, again, I'm spamming the boost key on those. I'm used to just holding it down, and all of a sudden, basically, I've got this whole new game mechanic to worry about on Defford that I'm not thinking about at all on Rikkord or OV. And the good news is I did great on fuel management that lap. But it's maybe not going to be a fast lap. I don't know. Let's find out. Let's go through here as quickly as it can. Alright. I'm just going to check out the lap time. So that was actually one of my better lap times. I seem to be doing pretty good tonight, which is nice. Alright. So let's pretend I'm starting off the race. I've hit my afterburner. I'm going to go up to 400. Oh, too far. I'm gonna crash my ship. The textbook. Alright, let's start that one over. When I don't give a shit, that's when I race well. When I actually start to try to show something off, that's when all the mistakes come in. Okay. Come out here, 400. Boost, off boost. Boost, off boost. Boost, ooh, took that a little quick. Yeah. This is real sloppy. I'll be interested to see how this lap turns out. One of the things you have to watch for when you're going on and off boost is you do drift a little bit. Yeah, you have to be a little bit more careful with how acceleration might cause your ship to wide out, or your pilot, I suppose, to wide out. For the most part, not a terrible lap. If I'd gone full speed, would have been about 158. I'm gonna go ahead and stop there. Not seeing any questions in chat, so I'm gonna try my luck at a public match or two, see if I can't find one. And if I can, we'll do some racing. If I can't, we'll end a bit early tonight. Yeah, still a bit lonely out here in Raceland. Well, if you're tuning in, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Make sure and follow, subscribe, etc. If you are interested in seeing more of what we're doing. Also, please be active and chat and comment and give us feedback. Write into the magazine. All that stuff helps us learn and do better and avoid being a sort of an echo chamber. Yeah, definitely get involved. Also want to extend the invitation to anyone who's interested to join the stream. All you got to do is get in touch with me, Sredni, in advance. You can contact me through Spectrum at Sredni. You can email me through the website. There's all kinds of different ways to get in touch. Just let me know which stream you'd like to participate in. We can lock down the date, lock down sort of how to get into voice chat, all that stuff. Be happy to host anyone on the stream, whether you just want to fly as a group or maybe kind of take a lesson live on Twitch. Whatever you are interested in doing. Maybe you're one of the folks ahead of me on the leaderboards and you want to give me a lesson. That'd be great. Come on the stream and show us how you fly those super fast laps. So again, go to erasersperspective.com. There you can find all the ways to get in touch regards the stream or the magazine, and we'd love to have you. Okay, this is pretty dead. Been waiting a couple minutes. No one's joining the server. I'm gonna go ahead and say good night. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care now.